I wanted to share with you today in this video some struggles I've been having recently and how I'm approaching them, how I'm planning on overcoming some of them. So the big struggle I've been working with is this idea of done versus perfect. And for me, this is manifested in a lot of different ways, but specifically on my main YouTube channel, the Travis Marziani YouTube channel, which you probably know me from. If you don't, if you know me from somewhere else, or if this is your first video, comment down below, let me know. And if you are from the Travis Marziani, the normal channel, still leave a comment down below, let me know. I'm just curious like where people are finding these videos from. But the point of these videos is to kind of share behind the scene things, to be a little bit more raw, a little bit less edited. My main channel, I try to really not script things out per se, but I really try to make sure everything I'm saying is on point, where these are gonna be a little bit more just go with the flow, whatever kind of is in my head, getting it out, but also, as I mentioned, sharing some behind the scenes things. And these last few weeks specifically, I've been struggling with this idea of, should I just be releasing content on my YouTube channel, or should I make sure that every single video is freaking amazing and perfect? And the answer is somewhere in between, not surprisingly, but this is an idea that actually one of the viewers of my main channel, Marcus, his YouTube channel is Silky Whispers, asked me. He asked me about this idea of when should you do like done is better than perfect and just like get things done and just move on with it, versus this idea of when should you like seek perfection in everything that you do. And I'll let him comment down below if he does end up watching this. There's a certain Greek term for seeking Greek or Latin or whatever it is, and seeking perfection in everything you do. And I understand, I see a lot of artists, they want everything they do to be beautiful and a piece of art, and there is a place for that, 100%. But at the same time, I find it to be a little bit debilitating at times to strive to that like excellence constantly. And one of the good things I find about YouTube is I promised myself and my audience in some ways to release a video every week. And by doing that, I've got to release a video every week, whether it's perfect or not. And some weeks, most weeks, I try to release something that I'm like, that is so freaking great. But here's the interesting thing nobody tells you. A lot of times when you, or at least for me on my YouTube channel specifically, I spend hours and hours, 20, 30, 40 hours on one video, and I'm like, this video is gonna crush it, the thumbnail, the title, everything's amazing. And I release it and it doesn't do well. And for the last few months, this has been happening to me. If you look at my YouTube channel in the last few months, I haven't really had a hit video, which is fine. That happens. I mean, I'm not complaining, and I shouldn't be complaining, because my video on average is getting, let's say, 1,500 views per video on like the low end, which isn't bad, but still, that's not great for me, because in the last 6 months, or maybe 6 to 9 months, I've had a few videos get 400K views, multiple hundreds of thousands of views, and it feels really good. When you release something that you've worked on and you think it's perfect and you release it and it does really good, it feels good. You get that dopamine kick. And so what I've been struggling with is for the last few months, I've been releasing things that I thought was perfect. Turns out my YouTube audience, or the YouTube algorithm, or whatever you want to say, doesn't really like it. Now, I will put a pin in this. There is the idea that with YouTube, I've noticed it takes sometimes 4, 5, 6 months before videos really start to get any traction. And another thing I'll note for anybody that is a viewer of my channel, a lot of my videos, I think they've been good, but at the same time, they've been somewhat repetitive. And I know this. And the reason I've been doing this, maybe I'll make a video about this specifically. The reason a lot of my videos have seemed repetitive is I look at the data and I look at what people like and what people watch in the audience retention, and I try to do that over and over again because I'm like, oh, people really like this part. And the other thing is, there's only so many different things I can talk about on my YouTube channel, or at least I thought, because I'm trying to stick in the Amazon niche. So instead of just sticking with Amazon, in the coming months, I'm gonna do a few things. One, I'm only gonna be releasing one video a week on my main channel until I can film a bunch of videos and I can get like a buffer, because for the last few months, I was doing one video a week, and then I decided to move it up to 2 videos a week. Well, the problem with that is it's hard to do 2 great videos a week, for one. The other problem is I find if I'm releasing 2 videos, it doesn't do as well as just releasing one video. Because if I release one video, then for a week straight, everybody that goes to my YouTube channel, they see that as the video and they're likely to click on it. So that video might get 2,000 views. Where if I release 2 videos, each video might only get 1,000 views or 1,500 views, or whatever the math ends up being, because it's a little bit more complicated than just that. So what I realized is that's another reason why I was repeating myself, is I was releasing more than 1 video a week, and I'm like, all right, well, I want to say the same thing I said in the last video, but add a little bit to it. Now, don't get me wrong, I think every video had something independently valuable to say in it, but I do see that I was like repeating myself a lot. But let's get back to the topic at hand. So when should you do the done versus perfect versus having like perfectionism, like and really making something that's super amazing? Because a lot of the great art in this world is perfect. At least in the artist's eyes, when they created it, is like, oh, I spent years making this thing perfect. And it's a tough conversation. And in my opinion, you get practice by releasing things and just over and over again. So for instance, who's gonna be more successful in a year? Someone that does 1 YouTube video a day, no matter what, versus someone that does 1 perfect video every 6 months. It's debatable, but I think the person that's doing a video every day, they're gonna rapidly learn and get feedback. The other thing why I think done is better than perfect is you have to know yourself. And I can be, I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist per se, but I overanalyze a little bit too much. And there's a point where you gotta cut it off. A point where you start overanalyzing it and it's not gonna make it that much of a difference. And the only way you're gonna get this down is by trying over and over again. And that's the hard thing about a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot about life, is there's no clear answer that people can give you. But eventually, if you do it over and over again, my friend, and somewhat of a mentor actually in some ways, he basically said, it's like, you're jumping off the high dive and you don't always, it's gonna be scary every single time, but you get a little bit better every time you do it, and you get a little bit better at knowing when to jump and what opportunities, what pools to jump into, all those kind of different things. But the goal is to shorten the amount of time between having the idea and actually getting it into the real world, because the longer it sits in the idea space, the less likely you're gonna do it. In fact, I've noticed that a lot in these last few months. I've had a lot of ideas and I end up not doing them because I make them so elaborate in my head. I make it into, oh, it's gonna be this crazy long video, and it's, oh, I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna add that. Even this morning, I woke up at like 2 in the morning today, and I just was writing out ideas, an idea for a video that I'm probably gonna film in either hopefully today, basically about how to create a personal brand. And man, as I'm writing it out, it gets more complicated. I'm like, oh, it would be really amazing if I do multiple different camera angles, if I do all this different stuff. We'll see. I'm gonna film it later today, so we'll see if I end up doing that. But the point I'm bringing up, or the point I'm trying to say is, a lot of this stuff is very elaborate and maybe not necessary, where if the more you do it and the more you do the whole done is better than perfect, the better you get at knowing what is actually important, what is actually necessary. And you also get better at listening to your internal voice of saying, okay, when is enough perfectionism enough? Because if you want everything to be perfect, you're never gonna complete anything, period. Because it's never gonna be really perfect. There's always a chance for improvement. The better way of doing it, this is what Silicon Valley does, is to release version 1.0, then version 2.0, then version 3.0. Even with physical products, you can do this. Performance Nut Butter Cacao, I got that right back here. It's not perfect. The tear notch wasn't as good as I would like. A lot of them didn't have a tear notch. The box was a little bit too big. Whatever. I could have spent another 6 months dialing that in, but instead I got 6 months worth of profit on the product. It's only been out for a month, but I will have 6 months worth of profit. And then in the meantime, not only am I making profit, but I'm getting real user feedback, and they're telling me things that I won't notice. So that's why done is better than perfect, I think, is so powerful. And I do want to make an announcement. I'm not going to make this on the main channel yet. So this is one of the advantages of being part of this channel. I'm going to share things that are a little bit more behind the scenes. Again, is I'm going to be doing I'm trying to decide how much I want to share. I'm going to be doing a clothing item. It's going to be a premium clothing item. Man, actually, I'm hoping to do it. I haven't fully committed just yet, but I'm planning on doing it. And I wasn't going to do it because in my head, I made it so elaborate. I made it into something bigger than, should I just say what it is? Screw it, let's say. It's gonna be a hoodie. I'm not gonna talk about the unique selling points and some of the features of it exactly and the benefits of it, but this hoodie, I'm like, all right, well, I want this and I want a really cool design. And I want, when I launch it, I want to do $100,000 on Kickstarter, or maybe $1 million Kickstarter. And I started like making this project out to be bigger and bigger. And then the bigger I made it, I'm like, well, I can't do that this year. I'm gonna have to wait till next year. And then I thought about it like, well, why? Why don't I just follow my own freaking advice and launch a version 1.0? The first version of the hoodie, you know what, it's gonna be a limited edition. It's gonna be the like down to earth version. And then once I validate the idea, once I validate the concept, version 2.0, I can hire like a legitimate designer to come in and make it really freaking great. I can find the best fabric. I mean, I'm still gonna try to find the best fabric. I'm still gonna try to design it really, really well. But the point is, I can always improve it later down the line. This is just a proof of concept. It's called a minimal viable product. In Silicon Valley, again, there's the idea of minimal viable product. You don't have to make it perfect right out of the box. In fact, I think it was Reid Hoffman from, I think LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure it was him, if not, I'll correct it somewhere else, said, if you're not embarrassed by the first iteration of your product, you waited too long. You waited too long. If you understand what that quote really means and let that sink in, it's so freaking powerful. It means you should be embarrassed by version 1.0. And obviously, maybe not necessarily right when you launch it. Maybe you can be a little bit proud when you first launch it. But if a year or two down the line, you're not embarrassed by it, you waited too freaking long. When I look at my early videos on YouTube, I'm embarrassed by them. I mean, they're cool, I like them, but at the same time, they're kind of embarrassing, right? And that is why done is better than perfect can be so powerful. I think it's a beautiful, romantic idea that having perfectionism in everything you do, but you have to know your personality, and that could be extremely debilitating. I know for me, I'm an overanalyzer. And I get caught in these loops of thinking, oh, it'd be cool if it has this feature and this feature. And then I'm like, oh, but that screws this up. And I go in all these circles. And I actually caught myself. And if you watch my main YouTube channel, when I was doing Cacao PNB, I caught myself in those loops. I was constantly trying to make it perfect and perfect and perfect. And like I said, it's still not perfect, but it's finally freaking out and I can make that profit. So if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe. I'll put a link to another video I did on Travis Talks. I highly recommend checking out this video right here. I talk about my first week in quarantine, and so you can find out more information about what quarantine life has been like. I probably need to update it, but check out that video. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.